We've got this whole, like, little U-shaped thing here. So how is our carpenter coming along? Slowly. Thank you, Soundless. Yep, no, I like my little starting bedroom here we have. Um, Dr. Ennis here has gotten her doctorates. So if we actually were trying to pick these up, this should be... Oh, that's the wrong one. I've got a doctorate degree. I also have a doctorate degree in surgery. So while most people go to college for their doctorates, Ellis just took a crowbar to a pharmacy and now she has her own doctorates. And just try to convince her otherwise. Alright, so let's grab a hand axe. Because I will need to get the carpentry up enough that I can get the rain barrels. And then, like, this will be a functional base for us to come back to. And plus, this tree has got to go. This tree, specifically here in the middle of this area, has to go. Yeah, that's basically Ennis's approach. It's like, I have killed 6,100 zombies with this crowbar. Would you like to contest my doctorate? I am happy to schedule for you an appointment with my crowbar over here. We'll get all these crappy little trees out of here. And then I'm going to keep putting, like, boards in between these farm plots so that they stop growing. I do not believe there's a way as a character we can. And the reason I don't believe we can is they look like they conflict with each other. It's just like you noticed this was conflicting with me putting the light up, but the moment I moved it's fine, and I can put the generator back. It's just weird. Yeah. Yeah, I like the erosion mechanic, but I also do agree that's like, alright, there's certain things that it's very annoying for. Like, dirt roads become unusable late game. I don't believe it's a bug. It's been that way as far as I can remember. And I would argue that, you know, you can rest where you're just kind of like leaning on something and it's only so good, but if you rest where you're actually sitting down, you know, you would rest more effectively so far as recovering energy. But yeah, no, that is one of my complaints. Like, I've had people like, oh, you should set up your base here, and it's like, no, it's on a dirt road. Like, as much as I would love to do that, like, it's on a dirt road, it means I'm going to be chopping down trees till I'm blue in the face. Like, our life will be chopping down trees if we do that. It's not like that's the biggest problem in the world, but it is certainly an annoying problem to deal with. Yeah. Yep. I have debated doing that with one or two things that's like, oh, we could set up our base here, and it's like, alright, but if I do that, one of the first things I'm going to want to do on that run is to just, like, chop down a path of trees to someplace and then build a road covering that path so the path stays clear. And then just the thought and effort going into that, I'm just like, no, I'll just do a base someplace else. So, Soundless, you can only watch VHSs once in single player. There is a bug in multiplayer that you can reuse the VHSs again. I'm not going to go into details of how to do that bug. There's plenty of videos out there for it if you want to look for them. There's one by The Spiffing Brit, who does a fun video about that specific exploit. But once you watch a VHS on like crafting or whatever, it's one and done. Like, you still keep the VHS, it just, you don't get the bonus a second time. I'm liking this. I think we're going to do the 2 wide here, and then somewhere around here I'll bring it up, because I'm not going to keep the farm as big as it is right now. Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that's the kind of bug I would expect them to fix at some point. One, because it's well known now. Like, people have talked about it, so it's out there. And then 2, it is one of those things that you can try to not cheat the system and accidentally cheat the system, because you're just walking by someone else who's watching the show you've already seen, and oh, now you've done cheated without even realizing it. So you can build roads in the you can find like bags of I believe it's bags of cement, bags of gravel, stuff like that, and you can pour them out. You do have to find them. There's not, like, you couldn't do like a major industrial project. There's not enough in the world, but you could make like a driveway for yourself. Yep, yeah, you find a bag of gravel, you just right-click on the ground, it'll say, like, pour it out. I mean, like, trees grow in the gravel and all that. I've never actually taken the time to try and make a road just because the obnoxious amount of materials it takes. But I don't know if it, like, prevents trees from growing and that kind of stuff. I would assume it does, but... Yes. You can also move gravel. Okay, so gravel does prevent trees from growing. Nice. That would be very useful. I just assumed gravel wouldn't. So before I start pestering with zombies, let's put all these away. Eat our salad, have some water. Yeah, I am kind of the same thing where it's like, oh, I can't just paint a wall. Like, I'm fine with having, like, a texture or something because it's not plastered, or maybe certain paints don't work on the wall because you haven't primed it or plastered it or anything. But yeah. Alright, let's kill our friends that showed up here. I miss our katana. That was a good time. Nope, you can paint walls. So after you've made like a fully upgraded wood wall, you can find plaster bags in the world. You mix plaster in a bucket with water, and then you can plaster your walls. And once you've plastered your wall, then you can paint it. But that's base game. That's not a mod. And a brush. Gotcha. Oh no. Onion rings. How could you do that? Like, that is advanced tech. You can make fried onion rings out of onion rings, but you can't cut onions into onion rings. Yeah, the art of cutting onions, slicing them, and then separating the layers, it's just it was lost with the zombie plague. Just no one wrote a magazine that's like, look, man, just cut the onion through the middle. Like that's just it. Cut the onion through the middle. It'll fall into rings. It's fine. I thought you could use flour in recipes. Like, you could make bread and stuff with it. It's one of those things that, like, by the time you find all the things you need to make bread or whatever, it's like, or, hear me out, I could do literally anything else for food. It's like, I could take the process of collecting flour, water, egg, salt, yeast, a rolling pin, making the bread, then using the bread with a hamburger patty to make hamburger, or, hear me out, I could cut up a potato and put it in a bowl. Oh yeah, like, for what you get out of the food, they're good. It's just what you need to make the food makes them so difficult to make them 90% of the time. Versus, having a diet of just, like, fish and veggies. there's a lot of things with the food that doesn't make sense. The one I like to point out the most is when people start talking about how much or how little sense food makes in the game, is just the rice in the game. That it's incredibly non-filling, and you can just like sit down and eat a 3 kilogram bag of unprepared rice. Like, prepare it all, eat it, and your character's like, I'm still hungry. And you're going, liar. You are in need of medical assistant levels of food in you right now. Yup. Yeah, it makes me curious with a lot of this stuff. So every dev team has their different approaches to prioritization, what they're going to do, what they're not going to do, how their backlog works, all that kind of stuff. And it does make me curious about their development process, because at some point it seems like they're very non-strict, flexible, moving around stuff, and that has its pros and cons. But other times it seems like they very much have not strict, but you know, a very structured approach. It's very difficult to try and parse what they actually have going on there. Gotta have our fence, you know, safety first. Don't want anyone accidentally falling into the lake. Hey, Samurai Ninja Master, how's it going? We're just working on our carpenter real fast so we can get some rain barrels up on this ledge here. Because then I have a source of fresh water that doesn't require me to constantly boil water, which would be very, very nice indeed. Why did you back up? Did you... I'm concerned that I'm in the wrong place. What is this? Why does a game do that sometimes? Sometimes you have tiles that you just can't walk on for reasons I do not understand. Alright, we need to sit down and recover stamina. Okay, last night while playing, I really wanted fried onions and proceeded to add recipe. Nice. Telegram. Funny part is the spaghetti code they made, if you play in English, is a newer version. On Russian or German. I can still push doors and hit zombies with my feet to skill maintenance. Interesting. I mean, it makes sense to me that the English version is ahead since the devs are English speakers. Gotcha. Yeah, I've had those. I used to, I've been open about it. I used to be a a college instructor. And our internet, in some ways, was really amazing, the amount of speed and everything we had. But then the moment you had, an entire campus worth of students on it, it just would go to crap. And that's not me accusing the students or anything of anything. It's just, you know, the number of users you had was the problem. And the only way to deal with that is either one, have more connections and then spread out the connection, people connecting to a broader group. But awful. Right. The thing, though, is they haven't updated their files for different languages or anything. It might just be on an older version. I couldn't tell, because I don't know how they handle doing multiple languages, because there's companies that do it very well and companies who do it very poorly. Like, some just have, like, a translation file for text. Some, they have their own independent stuff. I don't know how Project Zomboid does, because I've never looked into it. The mall has a gas and charcoal grill. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me for the mall to have a gas and charcoal grill. I would assume they have, like, a store there. I mentioned a few times that I worked at, like, selling, tools, lawnmowers, all that kind of junk, sporting good equipment. And when I worked there, one of the other things I sold were grills. Granted, almost all of those were gas grills. I think technically we had a charcoal grill or two, but those were just like on the box on the shelf. No one came in for those. But I need to get rid of the axe. Come here, corpses. And I mean, that store was in a mall. I say mall well, I mean, it was a mall. It was a mall from like the 80s and 90s kind of thing. Like, not like the grand malls you see in this place, much smaller malls. Yeah, sad Weber noises. They were Webers. Like, the egg hadn't become a thing yet. I know someone here seeing me bust out the fireman axe to cut down trees is going to be super upset about that, but it's the life we live. Yeah. Yeah. I just want to get this chunk of trees down because there's about like 10 trees bunched up in one solid spot. I'm like, if I let these grow, I will never be able to see this direction again until I cut them down. I mean, I've got 8 logs in range I can saw all in one go. Like, that's one of the things that comes down to this game, is outside a few specific things like the katana, the sledgehammer, sometimes the wood axe. Like, most stuff you need, if you know where to find it, and you go out of your way, you can get just about anything you need in the game in fairly decent amount of time. Okay, and the military backpack, that's another one. But most other things, it's like, alright, I want this thing. Alright, well, I know exactly where I can go to get it. Maybe I'll have to do 2 or 3 places, but, like, it is very easy for me to know where to find it. Now, me actually being able to get in there, find it, and do stuff, that's another story. Right, yeah, the M4, that's another one. Like, there's a handful of things that's like, no, that's like legitimately really rare. It can be tricky to find. And like that's the worst thing with some of those guns is you can find them, but because you can't repair them, you'll find the bullets, so many of the bullets, and it doesn't matter because you can never use them. I'm having to be very watchful for zombies right now because we are way beyond exhausted and overburdened. Like, this is a thing you shouldn't do. Yeah, I've been able to find, by Louisville, like, an okay amount of the assault rifle kind of weapon. And then you'll find, like, 12 or, 20 cases of ammo. And then it's like, just the guns break so fast, you're like, well, all this ammo will never be used. This is fine. I should have my character go in and go to sleep at this point. Alright, carpentry's getting there. We're over halfway. We're actually about 2/3 away. Yeah, that was when I was playing on the Deep Fried Brains subserver. My plan was to be a combat supply shop. I started making progress there, but what ended up happening was there's just the idea was, I kill so many zombies, that's usually how I find so much of my stuff. But there was so many players who really knew their way around the game that finding zombies was actually kind of difficult. So I had to pivot, and I had already been because the idea at the combat shop is I would know first aid, I would have the tailoring super high, all that kind of stuff. So whatever your needs were, I could take care of it. But just couldn't get the supply. Tailoring went fine though. Like everyone was coming to me, it's like, oh please, make my gear better. So I had everyone running around with leather straps throughout all their armor with, I think my character got like 8 or 9 tailoring or something like that. Yeah, and tailoring is super powerful. I found what I tend to do with tailoring on a lot of these characters when I'm doing these kinds of runs is I don't just try and grind it out. Is when I end up having a place where I'm going to kill a bunch of zombies in one spot, like I try and pile the bodies, you know, and tear up all the clothes for the materials. But I'll wait till there's like a nasty storm or something else where it's like really not safe for me to go out and do a bunch of stuff. So then just park my butt in the corner of our house, start tailoring away. I believe so, yes. Trapping is a wilderness-oriented thing, if I'm not mistaken. I thought the cooking show ended before day 9. I could be wrong. So I think we put a wall on this side to frame out there. Let me do some just because I can. I'm going to make this a tiny bathroom. We're talking like outhouse style bathroom, tiny bathroom. But that'll wait till tomorrow in game.